you all for coming out tonight. I am a firm believer in the American democratic process, and this is the kind of place where it starts. People coming out to learn how the people that we want to govern us are going to do that. So we'll start with the candidates for. This is for the Republican side on the state representative, District 55. We have Cindy Simke, and Mark Bacon. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to rotate who gets to speak first when it comes to answering the questions, and we'll start that I'm going to let Mark Bacon give his introduction first, and then Cindy. And then Cindy, you'll get to answer the first question first, and Mark will be second. So we'll just rotate like that to be as fair as we can to everybody. So Mark, 90 seconds for an introduction. And you might want to pass the microphone. There we go.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come introduce myself. I am Mark Bacon. I'm a farmer from Rice County. I'm currently a county commissioner in Rice County for the Southern District. I've been married to my wife Linda for 40 years, got 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, and I'm a Christian. I believe this country needs Christian values back in place, and that's what I'm striving for. I'm an elder at the New Point Christian Church down in New Point, Indiana, and I just went off the Indiana Farm Bureau Board of Directors back in December, served 12 years there, and been involved in Farm Bureau for the past 30+ years. So as I said, I'm a farmer, and I think that we have the most abundant and cheapest food in the world, and I want to continue to make our agriculture sustainable for the future.
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi everybody, always nice to be back in Connorsville, and been here quite a bit lately. My husband Tim and I have been knocking on doors, so you're used to seeing me around. And you see me on TV3 as well. I care deeply about Connorsville. I think you all know that. I work on a lot of projects here, primarily drug treatment and the hopes for that. So if you don't know me, I'm from Oldenburg. I've been your state rep for 6 years. I own the Brow House in Oldenburg, so my other part-time, full-time job is operating a restaurant. I've had it 16 years and I have about 18 employees. So I do this to serve. I was asked to serve 6 years ago as a common sense business person, and that's what I do at the Steakhouse. I'm always very, very honest about how I vote, why I vote. I'm never cowed by anybody else's opinion about how I should vote. And I truly love this state and love this district. And I really am up there to make a difference and to make the hard votes. I'm very, very accessible. I think you all know that. My number's in the book, or you can get me at the restaurant or the State House. And I really care. So it's an honor to serve you all.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Mark. Okay, we're going to the questions now. And Cindy, you'll get to answer this one first. What issues are the most important to the citizens in Indiana's 55th district?
Gosh, it's very varied, and you know, District 55 has parts of 5 counties. The challenges in Batesville, Oldenburg, Greensburg area, we're very dense in manufacturing there. One of the biggest challenges we hit there is lack of workforce. You know, even 3 years ago, I would have died to have more factories come and open, and now the employers there cannot find enough workers. Here in Connorsville, it's a different set of issues. So the whole district is really varied. And the drug epidemic, you know, spans the entire district. I've been really concentrating on that a great deal. I serve on the Public Health Committee, Courts and Criminal Code, and also Vice Chair of Family and Children at the State House. And each of those committees, we have all dealt with the opioid epidemic and what we need to do. I serve on the Governor's Drug Treatment Task Force as well. So Yes, that's been my priority because it's a matter of saving lives. I mean, sure, tax policy is really important, so are many other things, but they don't save a life. So until we get this under control, it certainly is a priority.
Thank you. Mark, I'll read the question again. What issues are most important to the citizens in Indiana's 55th district?
Well, I believe, as Cindy said, drug epidemic, I think, is crucial at the present time. Being county commissioner in Rice County, I work with the county sheriff closely and hear a lot of the things that go on there. Their task force that they send out to stop cars. For every 8 cars they stop, one of them's got drugs in it. And that, to me, is astounding for Rice County, kind of a small rural county. Another issue, I think, is just industry alone. I know Fayette County and Rice County both are struggling with that. The unemployment rate is very low, but yet I think the 3% unemployment rate, those people either don't want to work or they can't pass a drug test. So I think there's a problem there. Another issue, I think, is road funding. This legislature worked on that last year and got the gas tax up, and we're getting more dollars back into the county. But I think part of an issue is making sure that we repair the roads that will last. It just seems to me, I've been a truck driver for 40 years, and driving up and down the roads, they're constantly working on them. And I know other states don't seem to have quite that problem. They fix them in a different way, and I'd like to find out what that way is that will make it last longer.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, second question, we'll start with Mark. What ideas do you have for reorganizing resources in a way to use tax dollars as efficiently as possible?
It's a loaded question. There's a lot of ways that I think can be changed. We seem to rob Peter to pay Paul a lot of times. We cut fundings here and add fundings over here. Property taxes, I want to work on that. Ag land does not need more property tax. So we got to figure out another way to increase funding. I've been an advocate for income tax. That way everybody, if they're making $1, they're spending, they're paying back. Some of those things are, I think, a way to look at more funding. There's probably a lot more that I can't even think of right now, but that's kind of where I'm standing at the present time.
Thank you. Cindy, what ideas do you have for reorganizing resources in a way to use tax dollars as efficiently as possible?
Well, I've always stated that I do this to look out for the taxpayer. And when you come from a background in business, it's pretty much always on your mind because that's what you do. And you're not open if your business isn't open if you don't. For instance, one bill last year that I authored and worked with Indiana Township Association actually authored the bill, and I came under a lot of heat for it, even though it was the Township Association's idea where they said to merge some of the smallest townships to make them more effective. And I agreed to take the bill. And there were some other reforms in it as well that were extremely important. And I worked with Township Association for a year on it. And what that would have done in it would be one instance of making government more effective would be to serve a larger group of people with the taxpayer dollars. And it would have entirely been up to the townships themselves who to merge with, and also have a township trustee and the 3 advisory board members. At the time, this came to me from many townships because they said a lot of counties couldn't get people to run for township trustee or advisory board members, or they may not have enough resources to get the work done. I always look at that. I know when Governor Daniels came in several years ago, he cut the amount of employees at the State House and at the state level. And I think he always said, you'd be surprised how much government you don't miss. So, and the way Indiana thinks and the way we've done business for many years now, since Governor Daniels came in, is to run lean and to run it efficiently. And I'm a huge advocate for that, no matter what we do in the State House. And I think you'd find Indiana State House and state government probably runs much more lean than many do. So I'm an advocate for the taxpayer dollar and using it wisely. And I get extremely upset if I ever hear that there are situations where it's not being used wisely. So, thank you.
I'm going to do a quick redirect and maybe go 30 seconds each on this. Because you spoke of the township issue, my question for you would be, in the next session of the General Assembly, if you're reelected, will you reintroduce that bill?
There were parts of the bill, it's a shame that it didn't come down for the vote, because there were other aspects of the bill that were extremely important that many townships wanted. And one piece of it was capital improvement plan, where the townships would have a 3-year plan and say what they're going to do with their monies. We have some townships sitting on a tremendous amount. My township in Franklin County is sitting on $505,000, and we have 1,000 people in my township.
Okay, thank you. Mark, my question for you then would be your take on the township reorganization bill.
Well, from what I hear in the counties, the places I go, I'm not for it. I think it loses control. The township assessor or trustee is local and close to the members. They know that person personally, and I just feel I want to hear more research on it to see if it is viable. But I think that the DLGF should be there to help the counties and townships to fund themselves better.
Okay, thank you. All right, so
One thing, could I?
sure, make it quick, please.
Yeah, my only qualification is I do not intend on offering it as a consolidation again this year. After the way I was beat up, no, it would be a while. But there's certainly people hoping that we do some reforms. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for the third question, I believe this one would start with Cindy. Okay. What technology or economic development initiatives, if any, would you like to see implemented in your district?
Gosh. Broadband is what everyone needs and what everyone's been working on. The governor just had appointed a specialist as the broadband specialist in his administration. That everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, especially the farming communities, I mean, we have to have it. And the students and the business people are really needing it. So that is the technology that I certainly see.
Mark, what technology or economic development initiatives, if any, would you like to see implemented in your district?
Well, I have to agree with Cindy on this, that broadband is a huge issue. Our children, my grandchildren have issues with their iPads that the schools give them, take them home, they can't get on the internet at home. I live in an area that my internet is sporadic, and I've only got one choice that I know of that I can get right where I live. We do use it in the ag community. We have GPS and technology there that run our equipment, and I think that is essential to get more broadband out into the county, to get it to everybody. Everybody needs it. We're in a technology era. 30 years ago, never would have thought we'd be here, but here we are. So we've got to boost that up as much as we can.
Thank you. I think we're to the point now of some concluding remarks. Mark, you went first on the introduction, so I'm going to conclude first.
I think you probably all heard enough from me. Again, I care deeply. I make the hard votes, and I really want Indiana moving forward. Our governor is, I'm extremely pleased with some of the moves he's made. He's a really out of the box thinker. And Indiana should be the best. We should be the best at everything, and that's my goal every time I walk in those State House doors. So I look forward to continuing to do that. So thank you.
Mark, thank you.
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity to come and tell a little bit about myself. I have no ambition to go up and try to change the world. I know how politics work. They slide in bills that maybe you're not quite agreeing with, but to get another bill, you got to do this. As I said earlier, I want to bring Christian values back. They've taken God out of schools, out of courthouses, out of this and that. They talked about taking God out of our Pledge of Allegiance. I am a strong patriot. It just really upsets me that we have people that won't stand for the pledge, especially our pro athletes. This is degrading our military and people that have served, and so I'm going to work for that to try to bring that back. Work on agriculture. I'm pro-life, pro-family, pro-ag, and pro-Second Amendment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you both. And I'll let you. All right, so thank you both, and we'll call up our candidates for Congress, U.S. Representative in the Indiana 6th District. I know Jonathan Lamb is here. Has Jim Pruitt arrived, or? Okay. All right.
I get to debate myself? I agree with myself. And argue with myself.
That's right. So, Jonathan, we're going to let you have some time to introduce yourself and maybe talk about some of the issues that are most important to you in this campaign. 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Do you want to ask me some questions too after my introduction? Or you just want to have me have 3 minutes?
I think probably just go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about what you think are the most important issues.
Since we don't have a format that's long. Gertrude, we can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Mr. Hanson? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right, thank you for notifying us. You were just speaking the microphone.
Is this better? Is this better? Any better?
Can you guys hear me all right?
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
All right, are we good now? All right, so I'm Jonathan Lamb. I'm running for the 6th District seat for U.S. House of Representatives. So some of you guys may not know, I meet a lot of people that don't even know who our U.S. representative is for Congress, but our current representative is running for Senate, so that means we have an open seat this year. So no matter what, we're getting a new representative this year. So we're going to have a freshman congressman coming out of the 6th District. So this is incredibly important, and I appreciate you guys for coming out, and the folks for watching this that are going to be rebroadcast and watching it, because it's incredibly important for our district to, ultimately, this is a job interview. This is a job interview to decide who's going to represent us, who's going to be our voice in Washington for these 18 and a half counties that we're going to serve. And so who am I? I'm Jonathan Lamb. I'm from Delaware County. So if you guys are not familiar with our congressional district, we basically go from up here kind of where we're at in Fayette, but where I'm at in Delaware, I'm at the extreme northwest corner of the district, and then we go all the way to the Ohio River. So we have 19 counties that we cover. And it's real important that we have a voice that's going to represent us for those 19 counties. So my background has been in economics and business. And people always ask me, why would a successful 36-year-old want to do this, go to Washington? And it's a simple fact that Washington seems to be failing us, seems to be not representing us. So I want to go and be a voice for us in Washington. And I think it's important. We were talking about this earlier. I was actually talking with the folks that are the Democrats. It's important that, hey, we have these healthy primaries. We have a very contested primary, though, that people aren't showing up to talk about these issues. We do have a contested primary. And it's important that we get our candidates that we ultimately think are going to represent us best. And I feel like because of my background that I am that candidate. So my background started out, I graduated Yorktown High School in Delaware County. Went on to Ball State and have degrees in economics and risk management. Met my beautiful wife, who their family has a homestead farm in Rush County, and my family's 8th generation from Delaware County. In my 20s, I ended up as an economist, and I ran a commodity trading portfolio. It was a multi-billion-dollar portfolio. I worked for 8 years on the trading floor. And I have since become a serial entrepreneur. I've started 7 different companies across a broad range of industries. And that has given me experience that I feel that I can use to Washington. You know, we've been able to grow that company, and our 7 companies, and I have 2 companies now that I still run. So I can use that experience because we truly need change in Washington. We have $21 trillion in debt, and we need to get that under control. We need someone that's going to fight for us in Washington and not fight for special interests. And I think that I can use my skills as an economist to fight for us in Washington, and that's what I plan to do. So what I do is I ask for your vote. I ask for your support. This is important. Come out on May 8th, exercise your rights, and I ask for your support. Vote for Jonathan Lamb on May 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You can talk issues. All right, no further questions then. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me out.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan. All right, now we're going to go into a couple of the local races. The first race that we'll have are the candidates for sheriff. We have 2 Democrats running for sheriff, Joey Laughlin, who's the current sheriff, and Wesley Pennington. And then the Republican candidate for sheriff is Jay Collins. So if those 3 would come up, please. While they're on their way up, I'm going to tell a little story on somebody that's back here in the audience. When I went to the Lincoln Day dinner the other week, I noticed that there was a Democrat office holder in the room, and I won't say his name, but he's here tonight. And so afterwards I asked him, I said, how come you as a Democrat were at the biggest Republican gathering of the year? And he said, well, I didn't see any of them had horns growing out of their heads, so I figured it was okay. And I've got to say that kind of, with some of the current atmosphere in politics, with people on different sides of the aisle, seem like they're fighting all the time, I thought that was a really good thing to hear locally. So I want to thank you for that perspective. So we've got our sheriff candidates up here now. To my far right, your left, would be Joey Laughlin. In the middle is our Republican candidate, Jay Collins, and here is Wesley Pennington. So again, we'll start with opening statements. I'll start to my right and go down this way, and then when we ask the questions, we'll rotate who starts. So we'll start with Jay first.
Jay or Joey?
I'm sorry, Joey.
All right. Okay, hi, I'm Joey Laughlin. I just want to welcome everybody for coming. Thank you for coming out tonight. I am your current Fayette County Sheriff. I'm in my 4th year as the sheriff. I've been with the department 18 years. Yesterday was my 16th year on the road. I totally forgot about it. So that was a very special night. But as time goes on, you start to get involved in everything and tend to forget those things. My wife Amanda and I have been married 10 years. We celebrated that last week for one day because we had baseball weekend with our kids. I do have 3 children. My daughter Shayna is a senior at Connersville High School. She's on the tennis team, plans on going to IU East in the fall. Jacob is a 3rd grader at Everton Elementary, very active in sports, and so is his younger brother Eli, who's 7. Go to Garrison Creek Baptist Church. I've been there for about 10 years. My father-in-law was the pastor there, so when I started dating my wife, that's where we started going and really enjoyed it there. So, don't say that begrudgingly. I know. Really active in coaching, coach soccer, baseball, basketball, president of the Fayette County Drug Coalition, member of the Kiwanis Club, and I would love to have your vote again this time.
I'm Javen J. Collins, and normally I go by Jay just because it's hard to pronounce my name. Lifelong resident here. Me and my wife, Ashley. We have 2 kids, Emma, 9, and Raymond, who's 2. Be careful saying this, how I say it, but we just recently adopted Raymond through the foster care system here in Fayette County. And definitely one of the proudest moments of my life. But spent 10 years in corrections, 12 years in corrections, with 10 of that at the state level, and then 5 years of part-time law enforcement in Wayne County. But again, lifelong resident here, and appreciate your vote.
Thank you for coming out, everybody. I'm Wesley Pennington. I'm a narcotics detection handler with the Indiana Department of Corrections, Emergency Response Operations. I was in the Army 10 years, 8 months, 4 deployments, 3 to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. I work at Pendleton Correctional Facility. I have a wonderful girlfriend, Christina. Amazing. Again, thanks for coming out.
Okay, thank you. In starting the questions, we'll start with Jay, Wesley, and then Joey, and then we'll rotate who starts the next ones. So, the first question, Jay, how will you, as sheriff, increase and improve services to the community?
One of those ways, and I believe it's the foundation of what I'm trying to do with a common sense plan, is to go back to some of the basics of budget, responsible budget management, and by doing that, going back to kind of square one on a few things, restructuring some of the ways we operate, we can, without hiring anybody else, double our coverage on the road 24 hours a day, as well as in the jail, we can increase coverage and consistent coverage. And then with additional savings, we can return some of those savings back to the county and general fund. We can also look at outreach programs and not only keep the current programs we have, but increase those and more schools, more grades, etc.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Wesley, the same question. How will you, as sheriff, increase and improve services to the community?
I kind of agree with him, but also we need to get with county council. I've studied some grants. We need to hire more jailers. We need to expand the jail. We have a huge overcrowding issue. As far as hiring more deputies, I agree with him. We can use the coverage we have now.
Okay, thank you, Wesley. Joey, how will you, as sheriff, increase and improve services to the community?
Well, I think I'll kind of change that a little bit if I can to what I have done as the sheriff and what we've done to improve service to the county. During my time, radio communication was a huge issue when I came on. Deputies were not able to get into dispatch, which obviously is hugely dangerous. Working with Diana Wright, man, that feedback's bad. Working with Diana Wright, our grant writer for the city and county, we were able to obtain 800 megahertz radios, which has vastly improved our communications issues. We have added new tasers, which was no cost to any taxpayer. That was through a grant. As far as working with the council and commissioners, I'm a Democrat. That is just a title. I work extremely well with the council and commissioners. And knock on wood, that's not wood. I've never had anything voted against. The council and commissioners, which are prominently Republican, and I've never had a Democrat commissioner, everything I brought forward to them, they voted yes on. There's never been an issue. I'm a team member. I don't look at it as I'm the sheriff and I'm going to tell you guys how it is, and if you don't like it, that's the way it is. We compromise. County government is a team. I think I've been an extremely good team player. We've opened it up to the citizens. I know we have some graduates of our Citizens Academy in here. They've come out, rode with deputies, they've learned about the department, they've seen the jail, they understand the issues that we have. I want the public, this is your sheriff's department. I'm just a placeholder. I'm just here, whether it's 4 years or 4 more, 8 total. I'm just the person that's there at that time. There'll be a person after me. It may be next year, and it may be in some time, but I want people to understand it's your department. We want to make it work for you.
All right, thank you all three. We'll go on to a second question. And this one will start with Wes. How will you, as the sheriff, increase road deputy coverage?
In my opinion, county sheriffs should be in the rural areas. There's not a whole lot of coverage out there because we usually see them in the city. We have a city police department. We need to be using that. They need to start answering calls in the rural areas. In some instances, that hasn't happened. So they need to stay in the county.
All right, thank you. Joey? How will you as sheriff increase road deputy coverage?
Can you guys hear me? We're trying to get back on my feet there. Barely. We tried to...
Closer to your mouth.
Closer to your mouth.
Closer to the mouth.
All right, better. All right. I think the road deputy coverage always could be improved. I would beg to differ with Mr. Pennington. There may be a specific incident or something somebody's talked to him about. One of our deputies is standing in the back right now. They are responding to calls in the county. Each road deputy has a take-home vehicle. It's our office. We're ready to go at a moment's notice. 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call the other day. We had 3 kayakers that were missing on Whitewater River. I was there in 25 minutes. Jumped up, put my clothes on, got my stuff, and I was there. And we ended up finding them. Good turnout. Everybody was okay. Had some issues, got hung up, didn't want to travel at night. A reserve program, something we talked about last year. I don't know that we're quite ready for that. It is something I'm not opposed to. It's something we would look into. I had some very good candidates that were interested. I am by no means the guy that just says this is the way it is. I'm constantly looking to improve, whether it be personally, professionally, or the department. If it makes sense for us to look at a reserve program at some time, we will do that. But I think our road deputy coverage right now is sufficient and it works. I have had 0 issues with my road deputies this year.
Thank you, Joey. Jay, how would you as sheriff increase road deputy coverage?
One, I'll agree with Joey. I don't think that if we, although we do have 2 different law enforcement agencies, they ought to be able to work in tandem together. It shouldn't matter where they're at. Those that vote for a sheriff are also in the city. So no matter where you live, you are part of that law enforcement coverage that the Sheriff's Department provides. But doubling up our coverage, restructuring how we schedule, will take our current deputies now and put additional deputies, not really additional, but put the deputies we already have in unison. It will increase coverage. When they do take those out of county or out of city calls, it will provide them with more backup. And then my big emphasis on reserve deputy program is it will help cut down on overtime costs. It will also help to ensure that the deputy that goes out on a domestic does have somebody with him. City cannot always come out, state cannot always come out, and a lot of times those deputies are left out alone to handle that call. So to have an additional person there that does not cost the taxpayer any money would be a huge benefit, not only to the deputy, but to whoever they're responding to. So my plan does immediately put out four reserve deputies to start. It puts 2 road deputies on duty 24/7 with no additional tax money used. It's simply using the current budget that we have now.
Okay, thank you all three. We'll try that. See what we can do here. All right, we'll see if this works any better. I think I'm still going to have to turn it off between speaking. Thank you all three. Okay, for the third question, we'll start this one with Joy. How will you, as sheriff, increase jail security?
Well, as the sheriff, we had the unfortunate, and I'm not going to skate around any of the bad issues. Hold it up to my mouth, there we go. We had an escape. Obviously, that was in the newspaper, it was on the news. Nothing like pulling into work and having 3 news crews sitting outside. Not a good start to your morning. But we found out that the jail was not built how it was supposed to be. The rebar did not go to the ceiling. We worked immediately with council and commissioners and got steel plating on all the exterior walls. We initially had talked about putting razor wire or a fence around the exterior of the jail, and we're told by the jail inspector that was not necessary and not to do that. We have worked with council, the non-compliance issues that came from the state jail inspector. I'll be honest, I'm glad they happened. Council's been aware for years that we were understaffed. Under Sheriff Wason and myself, we had put in for additional staff, and I think it took, just like things happen in a poor county, you can't just jump on every issue and just throw money at the problem. We're not Fishers, we're not Carmel. We're reactionary. I wish that wasn't the case, but that is the case. So when the escape happened, we worked on that. And then the non-compliance came, then we started working on adding staff, and we've added 3 jailers, we've added 3 part-time jailers, and we're looking at adding more, and that's part of the plan. So it has helped in a tremendous way for us to continue to add staff. During my time, we've sent jailers to more training than they've ever been in the 18 years I've been there. I believe we have the best jail commander that we've had in the 18 years since I've been there, Leonard Baker, who's done a tremendous job, who's empowered these officers to go back. We have a young staff. We have a lot of turnover. We pay $24,500 a year. You can go to Rush County or Franklin County and make $10,000 more a year. It's tough to keep people there to work in an overcrowded jail. But we have good corporals like Mr. Collins and a few others that do a good job and make sure these people are miracle workers. They work in a jail that size, understaffed, and they take care of business. And the few things that have happened here are not any kind of shiny bad light on them. They do a tremendous job that not too many people will do. And I hear a lot of people talking about unemployment in Fayette County, and we advertise for these jobs, and 2 and 3 people show up. People don't want to work there. It's tough. It's a tough job. It takes tough guys like these 2 that work in these facilities to come there and do that, and I think we do a tremendous job. What we will add in the next 4 years is just to continue to improve it. Training. Mr. Collins does have good ideas, and we discussed those. He's brought those to me, and whether he's the sheriff or I'm the sheriff, we'll continue to work together. And if Mr. Pennington's the sheriff, we discussed that before we started. I'm a team player. If I'm the boss or I'm just a cog in the wheel, I will continue to help. We will continue to improve that jail.
Thank you, Joy. Jay, the same question. How will you, as sheriff, increase jail security?
First, I'm going to ask, was that an endorsement? So anyway, part of what I would do is, again, going back to budget management, reducing our shifts from 6 to 4, that would increase and double our coverage 24 hours a day. Whether it's the road, whether it's the jail, nobody waits for a certain time frame to call 911. Or to act up in the jail. So increasing our coverage 24 hours a day is vital. Reducing how many shifts we have and increasing our shifts on each shift, our totals, alone is going to help us in the immediate future. And then we can continue to work with council. That will also help to cut our overtime budget. Again, saving us, with everything totaled up, right around $150,000, not just in overtime, but in other things. But $150,000 a year that we can restructure and put right back into the department. So again, part of that is simply restructuring how we do things, moving some people around, and doubling up our coverage immediately would immediately increase jail security, jail efficiency, and effectiveness.
Thank you very much, Joey. Is it all right to call you Wes or Wesley?
Wes is fine.
Okay, Wes. How will you, as sheriff, increase jail security?
I agree with Sheriff Laughlin here. I work at Pendleton Correctional Facility. All right. As a K-9 officer, we are short-staffed. We have issues filling cell houses. Just like Fayette County, we have 10 applicants to show up, and one maybe will stay 6 months. A majority of our staff is under 2 years, and that's veteran staff at this point. So increasing jail security, training. We've actually increased, at the state level, we've increased our shifts from 8 to 12. I work 16, 18 hours a day, just being a K-9 officer. We have several schools. Once again, it costs money. ERO will come down here, and they will help train. I will do it for free. And there's things that we can do, and I've discussed it with Sheriff Laughlin. There's other things we can do. Once again, training and equipment. That's basically the bread and butter of jail or prison security.
Okay, three answers from 3 candidates. Thank you. We'll have a 4th question, and then we'll go into a summary or closing. This question, Jay, you'll start, Wes second, and Joey third. How will you, as the sheriff, help the county council and county commissioners in funding for an annex, remodeled, or a new jail?
Again, I don't get to sit in those particular meetings yet, but what I would do is first look at our current budget before we ever start asking for additional funding anywhere else. Look at where we can save in our own budget, and part of that is the $150,000 that we can reinvest in the department before we ever go to council and say, hey, we need this or we need that. So part of that, again, working at the state level, I was part of ramping up the Newcastle Correctional Facility. I was part of opening up and building a new 600-bed facility for maximum security at Newcastle. So being a part of opening a facility like that, I believe I bring experience in opening that, managing it, to include the budgets, to include how we're going to operate it safely and securely. So again, those are unique circumstances that I can bring to the table that I've already experienced.
Thank you, Jay. Wes? How will you, as sheriff, help the county council and county commissioners in funding for an annex, remodeled, or new jail?
Overcrowding is an issue everywhere. There's several ideas. There's one idea, we have a grant writer. Start looking at grants. There's grants out there that we are eligible for. All right, you can buy the property, over by the dollar store, tear it down, build a new holding facility for short-term housing. Another one is, like he said, I'm not really privy to some of these budgets. I'm not in those meetings, but once I do get in there will be different ideas. There's plenty of things we could probably do. Fresh ideas, fresh eyes.
Thank you. Joey, how will you, as sheriff, help the county council and county commissioners in funding for an annex, remodeled, or new jail?
Well, we've already began some of that, so a lot of these questions are what we've already been doing. The Jail and Justice Committee was formed last year. We had the National Institute of Corrections come down at the behest of the state jail inspector, and they did a study on the jail, and they recommended we form a Jail and Justice Committee, which is formed of a commissioner, several council members from the county, several members from the city, the mayor, the prosecutor, both judges, and we came to the conclusion last year that we needed to buy the old Dollar General store and turn that into a women's detention facility, which would house our female prisoners, which has been our biggest rise in population and a big contributor to the overcrowding. And would also allow us to house female work release, which is an issue that is not discussed, that we do not offer female work release, and that is a issue that will rear its ugly head at some time. We made that recommendation to the commissioners, and they are still taking it under advisement. We went in with DLZ. We can turn that old store into a facility, but there is talk of building a new jail, which I'll be honest, this is a poor county. I don't know how we're going to pull that off, and I know a lot of people don't want to get into another bond issue. But I also have faith and respect for the commissioners that are in, and we'll listen. And that's part of it, is not just saying, well, this is what we want and that's it. That's not how I am. I've seen other people do that in county government. I see how far it gets them. Not very far. So I listen. I'm not super excited about a jail if that would happen, but if it does, we'll continue to work together and make it work. If you're going to build it, you're going to have to build it to hold at least 300 people. And I guarantee you, if they put a jail down here that'll hold 300 people, we'll fill it up too. Because we're having to pull off of arrests, we're having to pull off of things, we're having to OR people that need to be in jail due to the overcrowding. Because there's not a lot of vacancy at the hotel. So we got to ship some of these people out to other facilities, to OR addicts that don't need to be on the street, that parents want them in jail, so they know that they're okay and they'll start on that road to recovery, hopefully. So if you build a bigger jail, it's going to be expensive. It's going to have to be 2 stories. You're going to have to fill it up with workers. You're going to have to pay better, because we can't get enough people to work at the one we got now with the staffing that we have now. Like we talked about, you're having 2 and 3 people show up for interviews. It's going to be difficult. Wages are going to have to be, it's going to cost us tax money. I think there's more fiscal solutions than possibly a new jail, but I'm open to all suggestions.
All right, thank you all very much. Now we'll go into closing statements or conclusions. We'll start with Wesley, and Joey, and Jay.
I've spent better part of my life in public service. If the Department of the Army can trust me to lead soldiers in combat, if Pendleton Correctional Facility can trust me to run a K-9 team, 4 dogs, bringing a loaded smart weapon into a facility, I think I could be counted on to make good decisions. The jail situation, I mean, that's huge. And Sheriff Laughlin's right, it's gonna be expensive, and he's right, it's gonna be filled up too. Jail wages for jailers need to be increased. They're not competitive, and once again, it costs money. The drug problem, that needs to be attacked. There's several solutions for that. Once I get in there, open the books, we get in there, see what staffing we do have, I can make adjustments.
Thank you. Joey, closing statement.
In the past 4 years, 3.5 years, we have reduced the county budget where we can. We've had to add additional staff because of non-compliance issues. My first year in office, the budget for the kitchen was $220,000. We spent $295,000 that year. We partnered with Gordon Food Services. Some of that thanks to Mrs. Whitaker. As she was auditor, there was a suggestion of her and one of her workers. And we've pared that down to $180,000. And we stay in budget, almost $95,000. The gas budget when I came in office was $60,000. It is now $40,000, and that is with big Dodge trucks that we need to get places in the county. When weather is bad, county roads ain't like city roads, we gotta get places. We've assisted the coroner's office in removal of bodies with those trucks. We've assisted other agencies in getting places where they can't get with those trucks. We continue to do that. I've been fiscally responsible. I have put this department before my family several times. I let my family go on vacation to Florida without me when those guys escaped. And I had several people, we got this. Go ahead, you got this. Javen was out helping us. Several other officers were out helping us. Go ahead, we got this. And I felt it was my duty to be here. And that's tough to tell a 7 and 5-year-old little boy, Daddy ain't going on vacation with you. And I ain't looking for sympathy points. I knew what the job was when I signed up for it. But I respect this job, and I would like your vote again. I would love to be the sheriff again for another 4 years and serve you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jay, your statement?
The biggest thing, again, is I believe one of the primary things that are going to drive this next 4 years is the jail, and I believe that I bring that unique experience with private corrections, knowing how to work a budget and work within that budget to, again, still increase services inside and outside the jail. Inside the jail, I will make mention that I do want to also increase religious services and access, along with programming and things to help in transition for those that kind of fall through the cracks that aren't in community corrections and other places. But that unique set of circumstances within private corrections opening up facilities, I believe is going to be unique and useful in the next 4 years. My $600 or $600,000 budget that I can save and reinvest back into the community or back into the department is going to benefit the community. And with that, I appreciate your vote on May 8th.
Okay, thank you all three. Joey Laughlin, Jay. Okay, at this point, we have the race for Fayette County Council. We have 3 candidates. The Democrats are Jerry Pennington, Donna Schroeder. The Republican is John Clark. If you want to come up, all 3 of you, if you're here. I know we got the Democrats. So. All right. And again, we'll start with an introductory statement, and then I've got some questions, and we'll rotate who gets to start. So Jerry, I'm going to start with you on the introduction, just because P comes before S, and we'll let you give your introductory statement.
Near you.
I think that was me. I shut it off. So we'll start with an introductory statement from Jerry, and then we'll have Donna's introduction.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This is good for all the candidates to be here. This is good for the people to be here. My name is Jerry Pennington. I'm born and raised in Connersville. I graduated in 1964, where I played on a Spartan basketball team and won 4 games that year. And believe me, I still hear about that 40 years later. So I moved to Los Angeles, California, where I owned and operated a moving company. We specialized in office industrial relocations. At that time, I had contracts with Litton Industries, Hughes Aircraft, Lockheed. I dealt in thousands and thousands of dollars worth of bids and budgets. I became very conservative for the money because it was my money I was dealing with. If I'm elected to county council, I will be more than conservative because it's your money. I'll be dealing with the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Schroeder, introduction.
I'm Donna Schroeder. I was born in Fayette County, and I never left. I live in Orange Township, and also where I've always been. I have a store downtown in Connersville, so I have city and county in my life. I own a home in Orange, and then I own a building So when I pay taxes, I like to know that it's going where I want it to go. I was widowed a few years ago. I have 3 kids. I am president of Historic Connersville. And when we're done, I'm going to go back over to work some more at the new museum. So if you want to, come over and wander around and see the building, because we're pretty proud of it. I serve as secretary of the Daughters of the American Revolution and Discover Connersville. I last year was very proud to have been chosen as one of 24 citizens from all over the state as a Golden Hoosier, and primarily because of my volunteer work. I've been on the advisory board in Orange Township for 20 years, and I worked in the courthouse for several years, so I see both sides, both administrative and employees.
Thank you very much. Are you able to hear me over here if I speak up? Okay. The county council, for those, there's a lot of people don't know the difference between the county council and the county commissioners. So the county council basically is the budgetary authority for the county. They have to set the budgets, approve the budgets, and if the county commissioners, who are the executive of the county, if they want to do something, the county council still has to review it if there's a cost to it, and they can be the check and balance on the county commissioners. So that's the difference between the two groups. The county council, except at budget time, is usually not quite as busy as the commissioners, but their role is extremely important. So, having said that, now Donna, this question's for you to start.
All right.
What is your vision of what Fayette County will be like in 10 years? Your vision.
Well, I would hope that in 10 years we would have perhaps more industry. I think it'll still be a good place to live, just like it's always been. I know that there are a lot of bad things said about our county, and it isn't the majority of the people. That's a small segment that makes all of us look bad sometimes. We have good people. I would hope that in 10 years we would be more of a tourist oriented economy. We've worked very hard on that, and I'd like to see the improvements that we've started carried on. I'd like to see our city cleaner. I'd like to see our county have more services, perhaps, and I'd like to see a sense of unity and among all of our citizens. I guess I just hope that our economy improves and that our just our appearance improves.
Thank you, Donna. Jerry, what is your vision of what Fayette County will be like in 10 years?
Oh, I think we're off on the right track. I think one of the main things to do is to get industry to Fayette County. And being in an industry like I was in, to get companies to relocate here, believe it or not, it's usually the wife that decides where you're going to move to. They want to know about your school system. They want to know about your police departments. They want to know about how everything else is going. And they usually make the decisions for the husband to relocate his company. So in order to do that, number one, we have to clean up the city and the county. We have to, number one, we got to get rid of the drug problem, which we'll never get rid of completely. We'll get a big start on that. People do not want to come to a county that's infested with drugs. and its drugs are all over the place, but we're worried about Fayette County. I think if we do more drug busts like we did just the other day, will help a lot. Now that we've got the rehab center going in with the detox, and with House of Roof involved here, I think that's off to a good start. But we have to get more businesses into Fayette County. And 10 years from now, knock on wood someplace, maybe we'll have a highway coming from 70 to Connersville. But right now, everybody tells me we're landlocked. When I always tell them, well, back in the 60s, when I was living here, and the 70s, we were landlocked then too. But D&M, H.H. Robinson, Stantz, all got their product out of town, even though we had railroads and stuff going on. So that's not a deterrent for me. I think we're in the central hub of the whole tri-state area. We have Cincinnati, we're close to Louisville, close to Dayton, we're close to Muncie, Harrison, Ohio. They're all right around us. We just got to work hard. I think in 10 years, you will see a sparkling change in the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Jerry, if you want to hang on to the microphone, you'll get the first shot at this question. What do you see as the two main issues facing Fayette County in the coming 4 years, and what are your recommendations for action?
Two of them?
Two.
Well, one is go back to jobs. Now, a lot of people think we have jobs here, we just can't get people to go out and do them. Zappa up here, for instance, hires a lot of people. Stantz has been hiring a lot of people. But they can't seem to get them to come out because of the drug problem we have. Some of them can't pass a drug test. So, but the drugs is probably the major portion we have right now. It's very, very bad. I would say, coming from California after 40 years, we have more drugs in Fayette County per capita than you do in Los Angeles. Believe that or not. Very, very, very bad. So, we got to get that cleaned up. Once we get that handle on that, then we can bring, like she said, tourism could come back. But right now, I don't know how much tourism we have to offer. People just don't want to come here. We've got to get more hotels built here. Better place for them to stay. We have plenty to eat. I know we have plenty of place to eat. They're all over the place. But that's what we have to work on. We got to get those under control. And so I think the drugs and more businesses in the Fayette County is going to go a long way to correct everything we have.
Thank you, Jerry. Donna, what do you see as the two main issues facing Fayette County in the coming 4 years, and what are your recommendations for action?
I agree with Jerry that drugs are a problem. I agree that we need jobs. And those are issues. But I'm not certain what role a county council plays in that. I see the issues that would affect county council more as budgetary issues, making sure that we are able to fund the road improvements that we need, and making sure that that we address the issues that the sheriff's candidates brought up. I see those as maybe our issues that would affect county council, because they are the fiscal agency, and I see working with the drug programs and so on and so forth, but that really is not the job that that I'm applying for here, that I'd like for you to hire me as. But I see that there are social issues, but I see that we need to take care of the fundamental building blocks of this community. And I think that's council's job, to work with commissioners and the various office holders to make that happen.
Thank you both. Donna, hang on to the mic.
Okay,
You get to start the next one.
got it.
Okay. In an era of shrinking resources, what are your priorities for development of a budget for Fayette County? And where would you make reductions in spending?
Oh, that's not fair, Bob. That's what that is.
Okay.
I really, without being on council and being able to look into a budget, I can't really tell you where I would reduce. I have no idea. I mean, I don't see, I think what we have to do is look more to revenue streams as opposed to trying to reduce things. And this will probably lose votes. I'm going to say this. I think in some cases where other counties have implemented a food and beverage tax, that they've been able to fund certain projects. And I don't know if all of you would be upset if you had to give an extra penny for your Coke at McDonald's, but I can tell you that that's a very fair way to raise revenue, because it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you're probably going to end up picking up a snack someplace. And I think maybe that's one thing that might bring in some revenue if we have a special project. Those have to fund a certain issue. You can't just willy-nilly go out and charge people an extra penny for their sweet tea. But if you have a special purpose for it, you can do that.
Thank you, Donna. Jerry, in an era of shrinking resources, what are your priorities for development of a budget for Fayette County, and where would you make reductions in spending?
Well, first of all, I'm not a big fan of taxing, so that would probably be the last thing I would think about doing. We're facing a major jail problem, and that's going to have to be addressed. So when we get into reducing a budget, we got to consider what it's going to cost financially for the new jail. And it's got to be done. Now, there's several ways we could do that. I can pass on to whoever makes decisions on it, because it's going to come through the county council money anyway. I'm going to have to decide yes or no. You can take the building next door to Dollar Store, tear it down and rebuild it. Or you can go, if the county has land, they can get Quonset huts from the military. It's the same type they use on deployments. You can get them for 50 cents on the dollar. You can fill them up with bunk beds, get 2 of those. That's going to take you 50 inmates. And you can make them, they're like dorms. I don't know if they're like this, or it'd be a dorm area for minimum security. And that would free up 50 inmates out of the current jail. And hopefully by doing that, we can get some DOC money back down here that we haven't had for 3 or 4 years. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that we just throw out the door. So that will be part of the budget we have to look at. And to do that, we have to look at ways to shrink the money down to build it. It's going to take a lot of money to build that, or whatever way we go. And as far as the drugs thing go, which she says not part of the county budget. Well, when the sheriff comes to the county council and wants money for more deputies, more detectives to fight the drug problem, it is part of my job. It is part of my job to help them do that. And I think by being elected to the county council, I can use that as a bullet point to put more ideas into people who make decisions. I can help the sheriff, give him ideas. Anybody that comes to them, we can talk about it. But that's my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we'll go into concluding statements.
Let me go over.
Go ahead, Donna.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I've spent probably 30 years doing things for this community on a volunteer basis, and as I said, I've been on the advisory board, and I've worked in the courthouse. I've been on a lot of committees. I think I have a lot to offer just with knowing the community and with the service I've put in. I'm willing to work hard. I will listen to you with your concerns. And I will try to be a good steward of your tax dollars. And that's all I can offer you. I find, I think being a public servant is a real, is an honor, but it's also a very heavy duty. And but I think I'm up for the job, and I appreciate your support. And I guess that's about all I have to say. And I didn't mean to say that we don't have any interest in the drug problem, but I still say that yes, we do have to fund the jail and we have to fund the police officers. But as far as I have no expertise in the fight against drugs, but I would support it.
Jerry?
First of all, I want to thank you very much for the questions, and thank you very much. I'm going to close with this. In 1947, Congress passed a law restricting the president to 2 terms, thus restricting and eliminating any kind of dictatorship. When they did that, they quote, and I quote, "Too much power for too long is a threat to our democracy." You take those same words and bring them down here to Fayette County, where we have the same people that run our county day in and day out, election after election. We got to get people with new ideas and that have solutions to problems. In my lifetime in California, I've been a problem solver, not a problem maker, and I've learned to live with those statements. And when you're on the county council or the commissioner or any other job, you have to be able to get along and compromise. Me being a Democrat, I have no problem compromising with the Republicans. That's not a bad word. And in my opinion, you have to do that for the betterment of the city, and the betterment of the community, and the betterment of the people around us. I'm asking for your vote in May, and I thank you very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.